저희 고려대학교가 이번에 준비하고 또 힘들게 모셔온 레드닷의 피터 잭 회장님 특별 강연회에 이렇게 많이 와주신 학생 여러분들 또 외부 손님 여러분들 진심으로 환영합니다. 지금서부터 저희가 좀 진행을 하려고 하는데요. 다음과 같은 순서로 진행을 하려고 몇 가지 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 우선 오늘 저희가 이렇게 마련한 자리를 축하해 주시기 위해서 연구부총장님께서 자리해 주셨습니다. 그래서 디자이너분들 또 학생분들께 좀 좋은 말씀과 인사해 주실 거고요. 그 다음에 저희는 연사를 요 앞으로 모시겠습니다. 그래서 일반적인 강연보다는 디자이너에게 맞는 톡과 퀘스천이 함께 이루어지는 그런 강연으로 만들고 싶습니다. 그래서 저희가 준비하고 있는 많은 퀘스천들이 있고 거기에서 인터뷰하는 방식으로 진행하게 될 것입니다. 그리고 그게 끝난 이후에 여러분들에게 마이크를 드리고서 궁금하신 거 있으실 때 질문을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 아마 많은 질문들이 있으실 것으로 예상됩니다. 저희가 간이로 뽑아둔 질문 리스트가 좀 있는데요. 가장 많이 나왔던 질문은 어떻게 하면 상 받을 수 있느냐는 질문이었습니다. 물론 좋은 질문이죠. 근데 이런 질문 할 때 혹시 내가 말을 할 때 조금 창피하다 혹은 부끄럽다 이런 경우 전혀 걱정하지 마시고 저기 우리 부스 안에 동시 통역사 선생님 계시니까 영어로 하시든 또 한국말로 하시든 아주 편하게 얘기해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 마지막으로 사실 국내 교육기관에서 이렇게 모셔오기 좀 힘드신 분이었습니다. 근데 저희 고려대학교에 대한 믿음 또 디자인 조형학부에 대한 기대, 신뢰 이런 것들로 많이 바탕이 돼서 와준 부분이니까 앞으로 저희는 이런 모임을 계속 진행할 수 있게끔 하겠습니다. 그래서 조금 여러분들의 많은 통참과 또 호응 부탁드리겠습니다. 그러면 지금부터 시작을 하도록 하겠습니다. 저희 피터 잭 회장 모시고는 인사이트 톡, 레드닷 디자인이라는 톡 주제로 진행할 것이고요. 첫 번째로 우리 연구 부총장님께서 여러분께 인사 말씀 드리겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
예, 반갑습니다. 방금 소개받은 연구부총장 이관영입니다. 오늘 저희 고려대학교를 방문해 주신 많은 분들, 고려대학교 디자인 및 다양한 전공의 학생 여러분을 환영합니다. 그리고 특별히 멀리 독일에서 대한민국 정부 행사 참여를 하시러 방한하시는 아주 바쁜 일정 가운데서도 시간을 내셔서 저희 고려대학교 디자인학부 학생들에게 소중한 교류의 기회를 제공해 주신 세계적인 디자인 공모전 레드닷의 피터 잭 박사님께 감사의 말씀과 함께 환영의 말씀을 전합니다. 아울러 금일 피터 잭 박사님과 함께 고려대학교를 방문해 주신 레드닷 커뮤니케이션 팀의 비오른 스타인호프 본부장님, 그리고 유명한 레드닷 디자인 어워드를 총괄하시는 루이사 밀크 본부장님도 환영합니다. 창의성의 시대, 불확실성의 시대, 4차 산업혁명의 시대, 이제 너무나 익숙하고 진부하기까지 한 그런 표현입니다. 교육기관으로서 다음 세대를 준비하는 연구자로서, 기업인으로서, 예비 디자이너로서 여기 오신 우리 모두 다음의 방향성을 찾기 위한 노력을 함께 경주하고 있습니다. 디자인은 이제 단순히 아름다운 제품을 만드는 과정이 아니라 제품과 경험과 기술의 스토리를 더하고 가치를 창조하는 중요한 융합 과정이라고 우리 모두 알고 있습니다. 이미 유럽과 대한민국 일부 초등교육기관에서도 디자인이 필수 교육 과정이 되어 있습니다. 그만큼 디자인의 중요성은 더더욱 커져가고 있다고 생각합니다. 혁신적인 미래를 준비하는 대한민국의 고려대학교 또한 디자인의 산업적, 인문적 가치를 깊게 이해하고 있습니다. 112년 고려대학교 역사에서 2011년 개설된 디자인 조형학부는 가장 젊은 학부입니다. 개설한 이래 고려대학교는 디자인 중심의 융합교육, 미래교육과 혁신산업에 디자인이 접목할 창의성의 가치가 우리 모두의 다음 세대를 준비하기 위한 인재 양성의 한 축임을 깊이 이해하고 있고, 틀에 박힌 교육을 탈피하고 새로운 혁신을 이루며 빠르게 성장하기 위해서 노력하고 있습니다. 그 결과 작은 규모와 짧은 역사에도 불구하고 고려대학교 디자인학부 여러분은 레드닷 등 세계적인 여러 공모전에서 좋은 결과들을 내고 있고 삼성, LG, 현대기아자동차, SK텔레콤, NHN 등 다양한 국내외 기업 및 정부 기관들과의 디자인 연구 협업을 하고 있습니다. 배출된 학생들 또한 매우 좋은 평가를 받고 있습니다. 고려대학교 전체적으로는 총장 직속의 디자인 혁신센터를 운영하면서 디자인의 가치를 학교 운영에 반영하려는 노력을 계속하고 있습니다. 이러한 움직임과 함께 이제 세계를 바라보는 디자인 국제화에도 눈을 떠야 할 시기인 것 같습니다. 디자인 교육과 인력과 산업과 결과물이 어떻게 국제화될 수가 있고 세계화될 수 있는지, 어떻게 사회혁신에 기여할 수 있는지 가치를 고민해야 할 시기입니다. 이런 시기에 국제적인 디자인 공모전 레드닷의 핵심 경영진의 생각을 함께 들을 수 있는 것은 큰 행운이라고 생각합니다. 디자인을 잘 모르는 사람들도 레드닷 마크를 보여주면 왠지 눈에 익다는 사람들이 많습니다. 좋은 디자인의 제품을 구입하면 상당히 자주 그 패키지에서 보게 되는 바로 그 마크입니다. 전 세계에서 가장 유명한 디자인 공모전 가운데 하나이며 모든 기업, 모든 디자이너들에게 선망의 대상이기도 한 것을 잘 알고 있습니다. 그만큼 레드닷은 기업들의 제품 디자인 홍보와 품질에 관한 세계적인 인증이기도 하고 디자인의 가치를 더더욱 높여오는 데 큰 역할을 해왔음을 우리 모두 잘 인식하고 있습니다. 독일의 우수한 제조 기술과 생산 능력을 홍보하기 위해서 1955년 독일에서 국내 공모전으로 시작해서 이제는 전 세계적인 디자이너들의 무대가 된 레드닷의 스토리는 21세기 대한민국의 우리에게 큰 영감이 되고 있습니다. 레드닷 어워드를 살펴보면 오랫동안 유지되는 카테고리도 있었지만 매년 기술과 사회의 변화에 따라서 어워드의 카테고리를 진화시키고 변화시키는 것을 볼 수 있습니다. 잘은 모르지만 안주하지 않는 변화와 혁신에 대한 개방이 레드닷의 성공을 그리고 피터 잭의 디자인 리더십을 설명하고 있지 않나 생각합니다. 그리고 그것이 우리 모두에게 필요한 가치라고 생각합니다. 아마 오늘 강연이 끝나고 학생들과 청중들로부터 많은 질문들이 있을 것으로 생각합니다. 이런 흔하지 않은 교류의 기회를 마음껏 즐기시고 많은 것을 얻어가시는 그런 의미 있는 시간이 되셨으면 합니다. 아까도 나왔지만 어떻게 하면 상을 받을 수 있는지 등에 대한 많은 정보를 얻어가셨으면 좋겠습니다. 오늘 와주신 모든 분들 즐거운 시간 보내시고 저의 인사 말씀을 이것으로 마치도록 하겠습니다. 다시 한번 고려대학교에 오신 모든 분들을 환영합니다. 감사합니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO of Red Dot, Peter Jack. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another two panels. Professor Lee Tae over there from Korean University. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another panel, Professor Park Seung-min from Korean University. And I will also myself join this panel talk. My name is Seung-hun Yoo from Korean University. Thank you very much. Okay, so the things will go in this way, guys. First, yes, we have a bunch of questions that we have gathered from audiences. And for you, I will ask him one by one, including his opinion, including his ideas, and also kind of critics or very warm-hearted comment for you guys. So let me start.
Yes.
First, Peter, thanks for coming here in the very busy time. It's our honor to have you here. Very first news with Peter is that he just became the honored citizen of Seoul City as of last year, as like hitting. So please give him a big prize. So Peter, how does it feel like to be a citizen of Seoul? Can you share?
Yes, I come here since so many years, so I like the city very much, but my main problem is that I don't speak Korean enough, so it is always hard, so I always rely on good friends, like my friend Kanna, Professor Kanna. He helps me a lot to become a very good citizen of the city.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me start from the very frequently asked question first. Can you tell us about red dot in brief? What is the meaning of red dot, and what's the meaning of the red dot to designers, do you think?
Okay, this is I can make out of it a long story because the history started in 1955. I was born 56, so it was 1 year earlier than me. At that time, it was the time after the Second World War, and Germany was very strongly destroyed. All Europe was very much destroyed by the war. So the whole economy had to be set up in a new way, and people were searching for new targets and how to develop the economy in those days. And because industry was quite strongly developed because of the military developments, but now the companies had to find products for freedom times, not any longer producing weapons and things for killing people. At this time, in many European countries, we had a discussion about the understanding of form. There was not, the term design was not existing at that time. So we did not talk about design. We talked about form giving a form, giving a shape to products. Make the right shape out of a product that the product is usable for everybody. So this was the thinking in many countries in Europe, and also especially in Germany. And in Germany, the companies were thinking about how to become successful, because Germany was punished as the country where the war began. So for the German industry and for the German economy, it was a big challenge to receive the trust from other countries. And so during this time they discovered that the good form, the good shape of a product, combined with the history of Germany's Bauhaus tradition and the Deutsche Werkbund, these were two very strong organizations before the Second World War. And so those organizations gave us the confidence in Germany that Germany could play a leading role in form giving or later design for the future. And during this period of time, two organizations were established. Number one, IF Design Forum. This forum was established 1 year earlier, in very close relationship with the industrial fair in Hanover. So the industry was right after them. And in our area, in Essen, we had a very big company, it's called Krupp. Krupp produced the cannons and the weapons for the Second World War. So Mr. Krupp, the son, the old one, his father was already too old to get punished. He was far over 80. But the son was put into prison by the Americans and the British. But then they understood that they would need this kind of economical leaders for the rebuilding of the German and European society. So Mr. Krupp then was released by the American army out of prison. But they said, you have to sell all your factories, the coal mines and steel mills. You have to sell it, and we give you time, 5 years. Within 5 years, you have to sell everything. Okay, Mr. Krupp was thinking, if he sells everything, he would, of course, he would receive some money, but it would have destroyed the whole imperium. You can imagine if somebody now would say Samsung has to sell everything in Korea, it would destroy the imperium of Samsung.
Absolutely.
So Mr. Krupp was thinking, how can I avoid this? Which possibility do I have? And he figured out if he would establish an association of the leading German companies and create an exhibition of very well-designed products as a kind of a role model show for others, then he thought then the world will look with different eyes to this company. And this was the hour of birth for the later Red Dot. So he established an organization called House Industrial Form, and then he established a huge exhibition, which was the first exhibition, and nowadays it's the Red Dot Design Museum, came out of this. And the positive side of this story is they invited the diplomats from all countries to the show, and they hosted them. And then these diplomats went back to their countries and they said, the company Krupp has changed totally. They are now producing wonderful products. They are not any longer in war and military thinking. They are very civilized, and we should let them go on with their companies, and they should not sell. This is, in brief terms, the beginning of our organization. So now the sad part starts. After Krupp was released, he forgot us. So he said, okay, the job is done. So he kicked us out of his beautiful villa. And then we had to find on our own, on this organization, this association had to find on our own a new house and everything. And okay, so over the years, we jumped from one house to the other in the city of Essen. And this was not a nice story because the organization was not very well known. During this time, IF Hanover went up like a star, and the organization in Essen stayed on a very, very low level. So when I came 1991, I was engaged to become the new managing director of this organization. The organization was very, very little. We had in total 5 people.
At the time, 5 for Red Dot?
Yeah, 5 people, including myself. Out of these 5 people, I had to fire 3 because they were not good. So for a while, I was just with 2 and with my housekeeper. This was the beginning, yes. And then there was nothing we could really build on. But what I did a trip to the leading companies in Germany. And I asked them, first question was, who needs a design center in Germany? Why do we need a design center in Essen? And the second question is, if you say, yes, we need a design center, then tell me what you are expecting. What kind of work should a design center do? And first answer was almost everywhere, yes, we need it, because at that time, this were the 90s, the economy was in a very strong movement. It was already the beginning of starting globalization, so the pressure on German companies was very strong. So in those days, there was a real belief that design is a good tool of making business success, and that's why they needed a design center. And the second answer was, yes, if we have a design center, then we need a kind of evaluation of the quality of our products, an evaluation process. So some people call it an award. But Red Dot is not really an award. Red Dot is an evaluation process. Yeah, so we are looking at each product by itself. An award is combining things. You know, you have 2 or 3 products. In an award, you say, this is number 1, number 2, number 3. In Red Dot, we always look at each single product and we give the answer, this is good or not. And this is what the industry really needs. They need a fair judgment of the quality of their products. And so this was the starting point of my personal career and of Red Dot. I came back to my office and I said, okay, how can we establish something that is powerful? Of course, in business, the most powerful thing is marketing. And you have to tell your story. Yeah, today it's everywhere. People say storytelling is very important. At that time, we didn't have the term storytelling, but I knew I have to make my story. And then I was thinking about a label, because if you do a kind of evaluation process, you have to show by a label, okay, this is good and this is not good. But what is the right label at that time? And you know, one of my background is art science. I studied art sciences as well, so I was very familiar with museums, art museums and art galleries. And if you go into an art gallery and you see a picture hanging there, and there is a red dot next to the picture, this shows you that this picture has been sold already. It is just there for, you can look at it, but it has been sold already. So that means big success. I mean, this is the best success a picture can have. From this point of view, I thought a red dot is not bad. If we put a red dot to a design product, means probably, you know, in analogy to that, oh, this is maybe a bestseller or a good product to sell better. Yeah, so that's why. And at the same time, and this is now an inside story, at the same time we received a new corporate design of the company, because we achieved a new name. The name was Design Zentrum North Rhine-Westphalia. You cannot pronounce it, that's terrible. But for this, we engaged a very famous German communication designer, Otto Eicher. And Otto Eicher was a very strange person. On one side, he was 120% German, correct, like a military guy. On the other side, he hated the fascism and he hated all this kind of military things. So he was really split person. And, but he hated a lot, of course, bad things around him. And for example, Otto Eicher made the corporate design of the German airline Lufthansa. It is still existing today in the same shape. He made the corporate design of the company Braun, still existing today. He made the corporate design of the company, the lighting company Erco Lights, and it's still there today. So he is one of, and he did all the pictograms of the Olympic Games in Munich. Now, making a long story short, because Eicher hated the power of politics, and he hated fascism, he hated dictatorship. And because of this, he said, in my design, I have to avoid 2 colors, because those are the colors of dictatorship. And it's the color of gold and red. He said all dictators in the world, they use red as their color. I'm not sure how the guy next door here is using red, but maybe yes. So red was not possible. But now I had the idea to make a red point or red dot, but it would have not been possible with Mr. Eicher, because he never would agreed upon a red dot. And now, fortunately, something sad happened. Right after I took over the job and I had this idea of the red dot, this was 91. At the end of 91, Otto Eicher was killed in a motorcycle accident. He was on his lawn machine. He had a big land and lawn cutter, the lawn cutter. And then a motorcyclist came around the corner and hit him and killed him. So it's a very sad story, but it opened up for me the possibility to shift from orange to red. Because before we had an orange point. And then I shifted slowly to red. And this was the beginning of the red dot story, you know? So we open up, and in 1992, I established the red dot for the first time in German. It was called, in German, Roter Punkt. And then later, we had the commission from the German government to do a lot of exhibition in Asia. So that brought me in 1992 to Seoul. And we made here our first red dot exhibition in 1993. Yeah. And we did same exhibitions in Tokyo, in Singapore, in Taiwan, and in many places. And already at that time in Asia, the people called it red dot. Yeah. Later, the French called it Pont Rouge, in French, red dot. And the Italians called it Punto Rosso. And the British, they called it very respectless. They said red spot. And I did not like that all, you know. So we had the German pronunciation, Roter Punkt. We had all this other pronunciation, but the Asians, they were lovely. They called us red dot. And then in 2001, I changed internationally to red dot. So there is just one red dot, and we changed our logo type. And this was very important because until 2000, our logo was the Japanese flag. Just a red dot on a white surface. And you can imagine this was not very helpful for our success in Asia. I mean, the Japanese, they liked it very much. But rest of Asia, you know, they were thinking about whether it's the right thing or not. And so I went to another very, very important communication designer in Germany, Peter Schmidt. Peter Schmidt, what did he do? Have you ever heard about Jill Sander, the fashion designer? He did all the shops. Peter Schmidt did all, you have heard about Boss design, the fashion Boss. He did the corporate design of Boss. And he did many, many other very important corporate designs. So I went to him and I said, Mr. Schmidt, I have an idea. We need a new logo for the Red Dot Award, but I want to establish not just an award. I want to establish a Red Dot world. Because what we do is we publishing books. So there is a Red Dot publishing house called Red Dot Edition. We run a museum, so there is a Red Dot museum. We run a website. There is Red Dot Online. You know, of course, we have the different Red Dot competitions. We want to establish a Red Dot Institute. Maybe once a day we will have Red Dot hotels. Maybe Red Dot restaurants. So I was thinking, I did not think about Red Dot airline, but you know, all the rest was, for me, was possible. Now I'm an owner of a very successful restaurant, but I didn't call it Red Dot. But we have one Michelin star in Berlin, so it's a very nice place. So, but this was the briefing for the designer. And then the designer came up with the new logo, but another internal story. As he was such a famous German designer, he made, I think, over 40 different designs. And he presented that to us, to our board, and to my colleagues in the board, and we always said no, no, no. And then he had an internship from London, a little girl from London. And when he came the third time to make his presentation, he showed us the logo. Yeah, this one. Yeah. He showed us this one. And we immediately say, yes, this is the logo. Now, this was in 2000. If she would have had presented this logo in 1999 or 1998, it would not be possible to use it. You know why? Because computer technology was not there. Yeah. Because you know, the graphic designers among you, you know, you have to transform logos into black and white, into large and small, and it has to work all the time. But it was just the year 2000 when computer graphics developed so good that we could use this on a daily basis. So this was a real success moment that we could use it. And on the other side, this Mr. Schmidt was very sad because he said, Peter, no, you choose the only thing I did not design myself. But it was a young girl from London, and it looks very fresh. And still today, I think since 2000, it is very fresh, 17 years now. And it is one of our major secrets of our success. Yeah, because the logo is so charming, so sexy, yeah, that if you compare it with an IF stamp, oh, this is very German, huh? Oh, it's a very ugly German lady. But this is a very sexy European girl. And everybody wants to have it. That makes the difference. Okay, I talked too long.
We love it. We really love it. All right. Thank you so much for sharing the history and secret of Red Dot logo type. And please, if there anybody who are planning to visit Berlin, please do not miss this restaurant. There's another big question about that. So since 1991, you have been working as a CEO of Red Dot. So 25 years is a long time, but a short time to make 5-man organization into those globally successful big organizations. Can you tell us about what is your secret of design leadership is for making everything globalized and successful?
Okay, as I mentioned before, we were commissioned by the German government to do exhibitions abroad, especially in Asia. And that helped us a lot to receive a visibility. But then the second point is, it probably has to do with my personal career. I studied media sciences or communication science, art science, and psychology. And then later, after I finished my study, I became a business consultant for communication of a very big German producer for glasses. It's a very famous company in Germany nowadays. It's called Fielmann. And I lived together with Mr. Fielmann personally, so I was his personal consultant. I also lived in his house. So I had, and so I had the opportunity to observe a business person which made a tremendous success. So, of course, he paid me as his consultant, but to be honest, I learned more from him than he from me, and I was paid for it. But this was a good combination for me. So I had, on one side, I had the philosophical and the scientific background of my studies. And I did already at that time, I made a lot of exhibitions, art exhibitions in art museums. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, I learned a lot about marketing from Mr. Fielmann. So when I had the chance to take over Red Dot, I immediately combined all my knowledge. First thing, as I mentioned, was we need a very attractive label. We need a good name, because Design Zentrum Nordrhein-Westfalen, who can pronounce it in this room? Yeah, you know all. I mean, you know all that you need an English name to be more successful. Because when people cannot remember you, how can they make business with you? So if you choose, as Asian people in the international world, if you choose your English name, it's much easier to be successful. And the same with a company. So Red Dot is a very simple name. This was one thing. But the next thing was with my science and philosophical background, I became, in 1993, I became a professor for business communication. So I had many students around me. And of course, these students helped me also to understand much better what we do. And from that moment, we started to be very academic. I think Red Dot is still very academic. We established our own research center for market research. And this makes a big difference. There is no other design award in the world which has an institute which does market research, which try to understand what they do. So, and the first thing was we were thinking about our own work. And the question was, what are we doing? Of course, we do evaluation, but what is the deeper secret behind it? And we came up with the idea that we are a qualifying organization. We are qualifiers. So we are qualifying good products. We are qualifying designers, good designers, by giving this award. And we are qualifying the industry, the companies. So we make people happy by qualifying them. But how do we qualify? We qualify by selection. We have to select the good products. We have to select good designers for our jury, but also good companies with their products. So we are qualifying by selection and presentation. So we present the selected products within our museum, within our yearbooks, on the internet, with special exhibitions worldwide. So this is the formula, qualifying by selecting and presenting. This is what Red Dot does. I mean, many other companies or many other awards do the same, but they don't know what they do. They just give an award. That makes a big difference. And this is very important for yourself, you know. The better you understand what you do, the easier you can receive success. So think twice about what you are doing and why you are doing it, and then success is really coming quickly to you. But if you do things without knowing about what you do, then everything is based on accidents. You know, it's always accidentally, whether you are successful or not. But if you understand what you do, then you can make a strategy. You can go, how can we make a better qualification? How do we sharpen the selection process? How do we make better presentation? So we can really focus on the different areas of our doing. But first we have to understand what we do. Then we can go into these details. This is very important. And this is I would say this is one of the secrets, that we try to understand what we do, that we try to understand what others do with their products, and that we respect that. And then we created some rules, for example, the rule, who can be a Red Dot judge? A Red Dot judge can only be an independent designer with his own design company, or a design faculty, a design professor, or a very good design journalist. We never employ as a judge designers from companies, because we need to avoid any conflict of interest. You know, can you imagine if we have a designer from the head of design from Samsung, and there is a nice LG product? how can he say this is the best of the best product? He never can say. Because if he comes back to Samsung, he gets trouble with his boss. He said, what did you do? You are the judge there, huh? How did you make it? And to avoid things like this, and this is everywhere, you know, we can talk about car companies and whatever. This is one strict rule in Red Dot, that we try to have independent designers. Secondly, international, because the world has become global, and we need to understand different international approaches. I mean, the Korean taste is totally different from Italian taste, from German taste. So that's why we need Korean designers as judges, we need Italians, we need Germans. So, and if you observe other awards, you will see always there is a majority of judges out of the country where the award takes place. Even IF has majority of German judges. And, or the United States have the majority of United States judges. The GMAC in Japan is majority of Japanese judges. So by doing this, you never receive an international judgment. And that's why we try never get more judges from one nation than 10 to 15%. Yeah, sometimes it's not so easy. We have sometimes a lot of Chinese nowadays, but the Chinese come from mainland China, they come from Hong Kong, they come from Singapore, so that makes a difference. Yeah, but this was the second point, the second reason that I immediately made it international. Yeah, so I think the academic approach and the international approach are the secrets of our very quick success.
That's perfect. Thank you. Any questions?
Oh, I just have a brief question. You just mentioned the Korean taste, Chinese taste. I just want to hear about the Korean taste. What do you think is the Korean sort of taste, or I mean regional sort of national sort of taste? There are some the kind of differences between nations. I mean the design from the nations, or what do you see?
Yes, you know, Korea has a very long history as well in tradition. And so if it comes to interiors, you have your own history of interior designs, how you establish your homes. And of course, you want, if you judge, you want to discover something out of that. You have a very long history of decoration. You know, you have your own symbols. And you like to see this kind of symbols even in modern products. So that's why sometimes if from a Western point of view, we look, let's say, on a fridge, on a refrigerator, which has some ornamental stuff on it. From the Western point of view, we would say, oh, this does not work, because we want to have it very plain and clean. But from the Korean point of view, it works perfectly. So that's why we need somebody in the jury who explains this to others. So this is, but in general, I would say, if it comes to our daily life in our living areas, we are very, very different. Koreans are much different from Japanese, also different from Chinese. Even from the Western point of view, you are all Asians, but there are different habits. Yeah, and that means that if it comes to interior design, we have big differences. But if it comes to technical designs, then those differences does not play a major role anymore. Because, you know, a machine is a machine. And it has to work anywhere. And it has nothing to do with any tradition. Because of this, the Italian industry had a big problem. Because in Italy, design is, the Italians understand design as a kind of art. So they try to develop their designs always out of an art understanding. Let's say out of a square, circle, triangle, you know. And this works perfectly if you come to interior designs. So that's why Italian companies still very much leading in the world when it comes to furniture. We love Italian furniture because you can create furniture out of this artificial thinking out of art. Yeah? So you can create a chair and you can observe a triangle or you can observe a square or whatever and a circle. But if it comes to an Olivetti typewriter, it does not help you anymore. Because a typewriter has nothing to do with art. A typewriter is a tool. And as a tool, it has to function. And the tool needs the latest technology, and the latest technology needs the best usable design. No matter whether it is a national design, it's a global design, it's the design for the machine. That makes the big difference. And it's the same if it comes to cars, because cars have to work everywhere in the world. And you cannot create it out of an understanding of art. Then, of course, then you produce Ferraris. A Ferrari is a nice art sculpture, but totally useless in the daily traffic. Totally useless. It cannot do anything. If you compare it with a Porsche is not that beautiful, but useful. When I bought last year, I bought a Ferrari direct from Modena. It was very specially made for me as an art sculpture, a 488 Ferrari, a beautiful one. And it was designed for me personally by Flavio Manzoni, who is the head of design of Ferrari. And I remember very well, my daily car is a Porsche Turbo. And I have a very good friend who, at that time, who bought a new Porsche Turbo, and now he was afraid that I come back with my brand new Ferrari. So he called me and he said, "Peter, what is the difference? What is the difference? Tell me." And I said, Klaus Dieter, I give you a story about the difference. You know, our Porsche works like a very, very good housewife. You are married with her already since over 20 years. You know each other perfectly. You know the behaviors. She cooks you perfectly. She cleans your house. She makes a fantastic job. And if it comes to the Ferrari, it's your love affair. You know, is your lover. But you cannot have the lover every day. You need to have your wife, and you need to have this kind of useful purpose behind it. And it's like that, you know, a Ferrari is useless, but it was created out of the understanding of making art. When you talk to the designers at Ferrari, they almost cry if they describe the shapes. And then they go, isn't it a sculpture? Yes, it's a sculpture, but the sculpture should work in the street. You need always 2 parking lots for a Ferrari because the door opens so widely. Yeah? If you go into a regular one, you cannot come out, especially me. Yeah? So I need more space. Yeah? So this is a big difference. So if we create out of art or out of traditional background, modern design, technical design does not work. But coming back to our daily life in our living rooms, in our table culture, there we have big differences, very big differences. And I think we will maintain this as well. You know, I act also as a judge in China, in the furniture design competition in Shanghai. And I inspired them to create a new brand in China. It is modern style China. They call it modern style China. Because they said, I observed so many things in your particular furniture design, which comes from the past, which comes from your behaviors, how you sit at your home, how you treat your desk, how you work with your calligraphy, like you do in Korea as well. So it's a totally different setting. And if you can take this kind of knowledge and bring it and adapt it into a new modern form, then you create something really original. Really, it is not necessary to copy Western shapes. Western forms. You can create something out of yourself, and this is the possibility in Korea as well, but only in the furniture interior area. If it comes to a computer, nobody cares. Is it Korean? Is it Taiwanese? Is it American? Nobody cares. Everybody cares, what can it do? What does it? Yeah? How much storage? How fast is it? And nobody cares about that there was a Korean designer behind it or a Japanese designer. That makes a big difference. You know, the technological world compared with our daily dwelling world where we live, that makes, yeah. Or the same with the fashion. You know, fashion is also a very personal thing. And we can dress up in different ways. We can bring in our tradition in the fashion, and that makes sense because it's very close to us.
But aren't there any kind of sort of attributes, features, I mean, of the design? I mean, even the electrical products, are there any kind of differences you can find when you're evaluating all design from Korea? Is there any?
Yeah, it's,
even the electronical stuff, I mean, the computer stuff, or, you know, I mean, Korean,
yeah.
or, you know.
You know, design, no matter in which area, is always, if it sells good, it always has to be sexy. Is the first thing. It has to be sexy. And to create and to make good sex means you need your freedom. Yeah? Yeah, freedom is the most important thing in life. And then out of this possibility and out of the situation of freedom, you can make your choices. You can make your own experiences. You can discover the world. You can discover friendship and whatever. If you touch Apple products, it's like making love with the product. There is nothing just by accident. I know from Jonathan Ive very well how deep he goes into material research. And he wants, if you touch the iPhone, if you touch your tablet, he wants to give you a very erotic feeling. Even if you don't believe that you make sex with your computer, but it is inside. Yeah? You have the same, if we would make a measurement, you know, we would see it's almost the same reaction as if you have good sex. And and this is something that some companies, for example, to be very open, a company like Samsung never can make sex. Yeah, because if you look at these products, they look how the others make sex, and then they do the same. You see what I mean? Yeah. Okay. If it comes to LG, LG is different. LG try to create our own design language. Yeah? And I always ask people, do you remember, I ask not Koreans, maybe you are in Korea, you are better than the rest of the world, but my question is, do you remember a particular product from the company of Samsung, or do you only remember the name Samsung? The only thing that the people can remember is a copy of the iPhone, is the Galaxy. It's not much, huh? It's not so much. But if it comes to, if it comes, for example, to LG, oh, you have a lot of things. You have the, for example, I was happy to have the chocolate phone. Yeah, it was for me, I still have it in my collection. Yeah, because this was a very new item and it was new. It was a new approach, and how did they call it? They called it chocolate. Chocolate is very sexy. Yeah, if you bite it, it is sweet and it makes you happy. Yeah, so this is the difference. I mean, it's a different kind of approach how to design a product. And you can see that. And that's why, from my point of view at the moment, LG is one of the leading companies in electronic design if it comes to televisions, speakers, audio equipment and things like this. Because they try to go a real original way and to make the things really sexy, really good. Yeah? Not just a Me Too product. And not just focusing on a price, make it very cheap. They focusing on a certain kind of quality. Other story. Now you create fantastic cars in Kia. So before, when I look in the street, the cars they look similar to Mercedes, or they look similar to BMWs or to these other cars. So, but you never can bring these cars into export, because you always get in trouble with Mercedes or with this kind of companies who say, oh, this is a copy. But now, if you look at a company like Kia, they create cars which are international on a level which is very high. So Kia is, I think, in the car awards in Red Dot #2, right after BMW. They are very, very good in quality. And how do they do that? They do the same. They go into better materials. They try to create a recognizable shape. This is very important. They like to create the recognition of the brand. So when you look at a Kia car, you immediately understand this is Kia. You can see this because of the front. They created a special front, and now they try to do the same with Hyundai. Yeah. So there is a new understanding of car production, and I promise you, Kia will be, and also Hyundai, they will be very strong competitors if they still follow this line, if they still go. So it's details. In the car business, those are the details who make the brand recognizable. If you can identify the brand immediately, this is very strong. It's very strong. And you know, LG tries the same with the circle. Yeah, yeah. So details. Yeah? So you can immediately recognize an LG product. Very, very easy. So I think if designers focus on these little things, little details, they make a good job.
I have to pass the comments to my friends in LG and Samsung.
also do that. Or a good relationship with them. All right, thank you so much. Any questions or any comments?
Thank you for your great stories about Red Dot. And actually, as a person who worked at Samsung for a long time, I cannot 100% agree with you.
Oh, sure.
But
I'm saying.
I really like your story about sexy design. I really want to have a Ferrari as well.
You have a Ferrari?
No, I want.
Okay.
So I think time-wise, we will better get into the more specific questions, which is most important question for the audience maybe today. So I just want to ask about your, personal comment and opinion on, the question, how we could get IF more better in a different kind of categories you have, like a product design, communication design, and what is that? Concept design. So there may be some differences in the categories as well. So could you kind of give some guidance regarding kind of different criteria on this different segment in your award system?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it before, that we have different kind of categories, and there are some categories they stay since the beginning because they are kind of basics categories. For example, in communication design, typography is a basic one, and even in the computer age, we need typography. So this will stay always. But then our daily life is developing, and we try to observe new areas. And we also observe the evaluation process in Red Dot, how easy or how difficult it becomes for the judges to look at the products. You know, if you just do kind of a visual communication, and you see now visual communication has different ways to do it in different areas. Or if you say just internet communication, but internet has social medias, has apps, has internet platforms, and so it's all different. By observing this, we try to create more and more differentiated categories, because it makes it easier for you. If you want to apply, you see your work and you say, okay, this fits better there, it's perfectly there. Then we can invite also judges with the right background for this kind of judgment. For example, we created a new category in product design just for drones. And drones will be a future market, a big future market. But I'm giving you an internal story of a very simple thing of jewelry. It was quite in the beginning, we invited, of course, for the product design, we invited industrial designers as judges. And then we received a diamond. The name was Context Cut, a diamond. And then all the jury, they say, I cannot judge it. I have no idea. Is this a piece of design? And of course, the diamond is a very good piece of design, because, you know, the fire in the diamond is all related to the shape of the diamond, and we have different kind of shapes of cuts in the diamond that create a particular appearance, a particular fire, how the people say it. But all my jury were not able to judge it. Yeah, so I had to send it back, and I said, but fortunately we did not send it back and say no award. We sent it back and said, you have to come back next year, and we create a new category and a new jury. So this was one of my starting points for new categories, new juries. Because if I just invite, I say, regular industrial designers, of course they are not experts for diamonds. So what I had to do was I had to invite jewelry designers next year. So we invited jewelry designers. We created a new group for watches and jewelries. And immediately this Context Cut received the best of the best, because those designers, they really could evaluate the big and high quality of this modern cut in diamonds. And nowadays we have the same with new technologies. You know, for example, you cannot bring a furniture designer to judge car design. It's impossible. Because there is no difference between a furniture designer and the regular person in the street regarding judging cars. So we just look as even a furniture designer then becomes a regular person, because he looks at the car as a simple car. A car designer who is every day in the process, he knows how to struggle with the object. He knows how to struggle with this board of directors who say yes and no. He knows about all the details in a car. A car has more than 1,000 design decisions to make to bring it to the market. More than 1,000. And what I observed in Red Dot is, if you have a furniture designer or another, just let's say tool designer, they go sometimes there, then they see 2 or 3 items and they say, oh, this is a bad solution, so the car cannot be judged very well. You know, so out of 1,000, they look at just 1 or 2. And then those 2 decisions or 2 items make the whole decision. This is not fair. That's why we invite car designers or transportation designers to our jury in this area. So we invite designers with the background in technology to judge modern technologies. For example, the establisher of the Samsung design department, Gordon Bruce. Yeah? Yeah, Gordon is one of our judges in this area, so he knows really what he does. He comes from IBM, he went to Samsung, And he now is a consultant for many, many companies. So his background is very important. You see, that makes a big difference. And I think this is also the difference of the Red Dot Award, that we create new categories regarding to the to the development of the market and to the development of the society. This is important. And our institute is always monitoring the situation, and that's why we create more categories. Other awards create less categories. But more categories makes it easier to win, because then your product is at the right place, you know, and it is seen by the right people. That makes the big difference.
Just related to what Gordon Bruce talked about. As actually, he was pretty much excited about, you know, every time he is going to Essen for the, you know, Red Dot evaluation and the ceremony, etc. So then also he is also talking a lot about the gala, the ceremony, which is wonderful, he said. So could you tell us a little bit about the kind of party, gala, etc.?
Yeah. I think this is another secret of our success. You know why? Because if you look to other disciplines, for example, especially to the advertisement group, advertisers love to celebrate themselves. You know, they really like to give them the stage on their own, and they celebrate their success. Designers are sometimes very quiet in their offices, in their studios, and they just work on the product. So my idea was, we have to create an event to celebrate and to really celebrate the profession of designers and to make them proud. Give them, you know, the space on the stage for one moment in front of a huge audience to get this feeling, yes, yes, I am a successful man, I am a successful woman. This was a good product, I made my job. This is very, very important to us, and that's why we are focusing a lot to our gala. I always ask the people, please dress up in tuxedos or very nicely, because, you know, it gives another better, you know, environment. If everybody is dressing well and looks fine, can you imagine you doing a wedding and everybody shows up with blue jeans or like this? It's not a wedding. Huh? It's just another party. Yeah? But when we go and celebrating design, we celebrate design. We don't celebrate Red Dot. On that day, we celebrate the winners of Red Dot. This is a big difference. Yeah? So I give the stage to them, and we try to make them happy and proud. This makes a big difference. And so, yes, all the people who have once joined this, for example, we do for a winner's dinner with a Michelin star chef. And we have a waiting list for this dinner of more than 200 people. Even it is quite expensive. But the people want to be part of it, because it's a wonderful possibility of networking and matchmaking and things like this. Yeah. Then, of course, the party is very important. We partying until 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, there is no closing hour. So as long as the people are not exhausted, they can dance. Yeah, this is very unusual as well. So this kind of celebration of success is also very important for a profession. So if you cannot celebrate, you cannot really work as well. Okay. Yeah, because you must be able to celebrate your success and be really happy. Now, can you imagine in a football match, you know, you score a goal and you say, okay, 1-0. Huh? Yeah, so, but it's the same if you bring a good product to the market. You score probably 2 goals in one match, and you must be happy. Yeah, you have to celebrate, and the people should see that. And this motivates you to more success. I think this is the secret of that. You know, that's why I try to make always a nice gala.
Yes, I was there one time. It's huge, it's amazing, it's crazy. So if you guys have any chance, please try and get the award and also join the one of those Gala member. Yeah, I'm also recommending. I guess our today's talk is really amazing, really interesting, but I think it is much better for us to give the mic to our audiences and students. So if you guys have any questions, you guys please feel free to ask Peter, because it's not easy. It's okay. Then can you help us to...
Hi, congratulations on building such a successful empire of design evaluation. You made it sound very sexy. I really like the story, and I'm a scientist, by the way, working in the lab, and we have the similar evaluation process called peer review. Try to make it fair and open. So in theory, I think we have something common. But as science gets bigger and bigger, it gets bureaucratic. Someone gets powerful and build a group and so on. So other than your philosophy or your character, open personality, how do you prevent this red dot award or empire becoming too dominating or something like that? By the way, I also admire your gut for trashing Samsung in the heart of Korea. And you know, you're sitting in the building that's donated by Samsung. I like that. So I want to hear your comments.
You know, it is also a question of our self-observation. So, in general, if you say to people, we receive more entries, the people would say, oh yes, good, success. But in our case, we are now thinking very much about reducing the entries, because more does not mean better. So this is what we really have to fight for. We have to think now what we do is an evaluation of our own process, how many products we can accept per year. This is very important, because can you imagine if China really starts to enter red dot, they will kill us. They send us 5,000 entries and then it's over. You know, how can make this judgment? So for this reason, we have to try to make a limit where we say, okay, we can maximum judge 5,000 products in this way, in this proper way, that we really can give a good judgment. And if it goes over that, we have to stop it. For example, we already reduced, we have one award category is called Best of the Best. And in the past it was like this. The jury was able to select up to 3 products out of a product group, and they said this is Best of the Best. So it used to be once below 1% of all entries. But last year it was 2, because we enlarged the groups, the different kind of categories. So then, of course, we would enlarge also the best of the best. When we observed that, we decided for next year, no, there will be no more than maximum 60 best of the best. So that means if we allow, let's say, 6,000 products, it will be 1% again. Yeah, and I think this will be the edge about the 6,000 products, no more. And then we have to find different ways how to reduce the number of entries, just to make sure that the quality is there and that is not becoming too bureaucratic. Because I'm still happy that when I meet people and they say, hey, I tried to buy all the products who received a red dot. That makes me happy. But if people come and say, hey, the last red dot product I bought was really a mess, then it's not so good. Yeah, so we have to work on that as well.
Thank you. Is there any question? Yes, please.
통역 가능한가요? 네. 몇 년 전에 디자인들 제가 미국이나 독일 쪽 제품을 예로 들 수는 없지만 예를 들어 우리나라로 치면 10년 전에 애니콜 핸드폰 같은 경우들 그런 미니멀리즘한 제품들이 오늘날 촌스럽다고 느껴지는 이유는 미니멀리즘의 한계인지 아니면은 변화하는 시대의 특성을 반영해 돼 가지고 우리가 과거의 것을 촌스럽다고 느끼는 것인지 왜 우리는 과거의 것을 촌스럽다고 느끼는가 그것에 대해서 물어보고 싶습니다.
No, it's not outdated. Minimalism is still on. You know, we do, next year we will do a big exhibition in Beijing, a really big one, of several thousand square meters, and the title is Simplicity. So make these things as simple as possible, but not simpler. This was a quotation of Einstein. So it's simplicity you know, minimalism is a key to the modern understanding of our daily life, because the technology becomes more and more complex. If we would look into a mobile phone, it would be totally confusing. Also, if we look into a modern electric car or a modern electric engine, it is so confusing. But if the designers create a simple usability, you know, and make it as easy as possible, then they make it usable for us. So this is very important. I think still this is a very, very high item in design to achieve. Yeah, simplicity or less as possible. Make it less design is probably better design because it helps us to understand the product much better. And this is a necessary thing because the technology around us, our daily life, becomes so complex and so confusing that we need orientation. And that means also simplicity, or means you know, make it less but better. Okay?
하나 더 물어봐도 되나요?
예.
네. 아까 전에 지금 저는 이 통역기를 이렇게 끼고 있고 강연자분께서는 이렇게 꼈거든요. 예. 지금 같은 제품을 두 가지 방법으로 사용했는데 그러면은 한 제품이 하나의 사용법을 지시하는 게 더 좋은 디자인인가요? 아니면은 사용자가 스스로 사용법을 결정할 수 있게 만든 디자인이 좋은 디자인인가요?
Very good. I like this question very much because I just wrote something about it. You know, in Germany, we have the philosophy of good design is based on usability. But you make the right observation. We use the same thing differently. So that's why usability alone is not enough. Yeah, because probably it is not possible to create a usability that fits for everybody. You know, it's the same as if the things get more complex. I used not an earphone. I used a cockpit of an airplane. You know, a cockpit of an airplane should be usable and accessible for pilots. But of course not for everybody, because if you are not a pilot, it's not necessary that you can make use out of it. But this is much better observation. So if usability is not enough, then the question is, how shall we design that? And there is a Nobel Prize winner, Herbert Simon. He wrote in the 60s, he wrote a book, it's called The Science of the Artificial. I can recommend this book to you because it's still valid. The Science of the Artificial in English. Herbert Simon, Nobel Prize winner. His idea was to create a kind of machine for design products. For this reason, he had to understand what are the essential points of design. And of course, the purpose of a product is one, and the use is one. But what he observed is the way a product acts in an environment. Yeah? So, and this one, the environment is now this audience here. And as long as you can make it as you do, and I make my use out of it, it acts in this environment and it works. But we cannot bring it all to one application. You know, I do it in my situation because I talk a lot in English and the most questions come in English, so it would not be so comfortable for me to have it all the time at my ear. But you listening all the time what I'm talking, and you need the translation. So for you it's much easier to put it on the ear. Yeah. But the main point is it works in this environment. And Herbert Simon differentiates or distinguishes between the inner form of a product, which I call function, and the outer form of a product, which is the interaction with the environment and the use. So if you create products, you should always think about how these products interact in environments with people and probably other products. To connect them, today we are talking about the Internet of Things, and this makes it more and more important for products to really work properly in an environmental situation. But for me, the astonishing thing is that Herbert Simon, who wrote this book, I think in 1966, this book now becomes better understandable than ever. Yeah, I can really recommend it. You should try to read it. And then there is, for the scientists, there is another book. It is called Laws of Forms. Laws of Form, from George Spencer Brown. But I warn you, it is very difficult to understand. I just, until today, I read it. I think I tried 40 times to read it. And I'm now okay with the introduction. But you know why I recommend this book? Because Herbert Simon reflects the laws of form from Spencer Brown, because Spencer Brown, one of his main sentences, he starts the book with the sentence, make a distinction. You must make a distinction to create a problem. This is a very important thing, and you must do it everywhere in your life. Make a distinction. Do I go left or right? Go I straight on? You must make a distinction. And in Spencer Brown, the whole philosophy of the laws of form are based on this sentence, make a distinction. And then you create, by making a distinction, you create immediately a form, let's say a circle. But by creating the circle, you create three things. You create the inner space of the circle, you create the outer space, and you create the in-between. Yeah, it's the line in between. And this is interesting because then later Simon said, we have the inner part of the product and we have the outer part, the environmental part of the product. And by thinking this in this abstract manner, I think we can understand design and our work much better. It helps me a lot to understand design. So I thank you very much for this nice question.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. For the time being, unfortunately, we have only one question available time. So is there any question?
We can have two questions. I have time.
You have time? Okay.
Yeah, for me it's no problem. Here, this way.
First of all, thank you for coming. It was a very valuable experience for me. And I once heard that design has its developing history as the first generation would only focus on function, and second would also focus on aesthetic side of design, and the third generation would focus on not only the function and the aesthetic side, but also the meaning inside the design. So like you said before, storytelling. And I believe design is something that continuously develops until nowadays. So I wanted to ask your opinion about what would be the next characteristic that we as future designers should focus or think about.
Oh yes, this is a very sad story for the future. You know, I work a lot in this area, and I just wrote a text when I also handled on this question. You know, in the future, the machine Herbert Simon was thinking about will be possible. Yeah, it will be possible. And it is already possible because there are already some software producers in the United States. They can do a kind of optimization software. And, you know, in the beginning of design, designers were always struggling with engineers. And they said, and we also said always, we have to bring design from the very beginning moment into the construction of a product. And an engineer and a designer should work hand in hand. Of course, this was when they create a function. Yeah. The aesthetic factor comes out of the function, comes out of a reasonable product, especially in the technical area. But nowadays, some companies create softwares, and you give just in some parameters, your parameters. You say, for example, you have the wing of the 380 plane, the Airbus 380, the wing. They gave him to the computer all the parameters, and the computer, the software, created within 10 minutes a wing shape which is less 500 kilogram each. So it saved 500 kilogram of the material, makes it as stable as it was requested, and makes it fantastic. But now it looks ugly. And this is nowadays, or in the future. In the future, unfortunately, there is no other space for designers than just making the products more nice. Styling. This is what we always was fighting against. We always said designers are not stylists. Designers are like engineers creating products. But in the future, if we have this kind of software, and we will have them for sure, believe me, then this kind of software creates the best possible solution. But the best possible solution is not at the same time the most aesthetical one. So a designer will be there to bring his skin on it, to make it more beautiful, to make it more accessible. Yeah. So this will be the subject of design in the future, maybe in 20 years. Yeah. Because those computers, for example, they create, if you say make it light but very stable, then they take the human bone, and then you can even put some holes in the bone to make it even lighter. So this kind of biological structure is the best structure for things like this. But can you imagine to look at a human being just as on the skeleton? It doesn't look good. So that's why we need the design of the skin as well. But unfortunately for designers, for the philosophy of the history of design, this is an awful situation. The designer becomes just a decorator of something a machine has created. But yeah, this is, unfortunately, I cannot give you a better answer on that. Yeah, is the future.
Okay, please. We really have one last question available time. Yes, I cannot call it, so please. Please.
She wants to make a question. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Bongjung Kim, and I'd like to give you a question in the same way, in the same term of what she just asked you. So I study in KU, study sociology and industrial design at the same time. And according to your answer, we might, and all of us here might have to make a plan to adjust the new future situation, like not just as a decorator, we might have to come up with a better idea to adjust the world. And I was thinking, for those who knows what it's like to design thinking, what would be the strengths of us and what the weakness of ours will be in the new situation? And it would be great if you can share your opinion with us.
And you talk about the witness of designers.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a big problem as well. We had all, since I'm in design, I'm so many years working in this area. I think almost 40 years. Designers were always fighting for reputation, always, because they always had a kind of underestimation of themselves, and they always thought just making a good product is not enough. They want to have also the recognition of the society and everything, and that's why designers always started to come up with new society concepts and things like this, and design concepts. But in the most cases, this did not work because, design is a very particular discipline. It's a profession, and it has to deal with creating the products, or in communications it has to deal with communication. This is all, and this is already a big value. And so I'm not a good friend of, or I don't like the term design thinking. Because, hey, design thinking is mind mapping and things like this. This is a practice that is in science already for a long time there. And it is not something particular design or for designers. It was just a fantastic storytelling of IDEO. Tim Brown made it fantastic. He wrote a book on design thinking. And everybody is following him now. And if you know that this was a term from IDEO, is the best propaganda for this design studio in the United States. Because design thinking is nothing special. It is very well known. Mind mapping is something. Gregory Bateson, an old scientist, already talked about the ecological of our science. And it's also a kind of mind mapping. The problem with designers is, sorry, but you don't read enough. Yeah, you're not educated enough. Yeah, because if you're more educated, you can understand that this is already there. And then you stop talking about design thinking. But you can continue to talk about how to make products better. This is the profession of design. And in case doing this, the best way to understand the world is reading a lot. Try to understand the environment where the things should function. Yeah. But you are not politicians, you are not philosophers. You change the world with little products. You are practicers. You are practicing. This is much more value than philosophy. So don't shift from practice to philosophy. Stay with your skills and make good products. This is what I think about it. You see?
Thank you.
Thanks to Peter and the team. We have a little more time. Yes. Unfortunately, no translation is allowed. So please, in case you're making your question, please make it in English.
Oh, no translation?
Yeah, she just left. She left.
She left.
Sorry, there was a contract. I'm sorry, it's my mistake.
Okay, you don't need it anymore.
Anyone makes questions?
But maybe you can translate as well.
Sure,
if you talk in Korean. Yeah. Yeah, you want some? Yeah.
Right, so I'll make my question in English. I'm also a student, part of KU, and I'm studying industrial design right now. And as a student, I would like to ask you for something. So you already asked part of my question answering these two people, and it's related about future. So being a sophomore, I'm thinking, where should I go, which way I should focus on? And you said you have experience of studying communication science, art science, and all this that helped you to build this background. So my question is, what would you recommend to study along with design? What is good for you to broaden your mind and like enter this world of design, being something more than that?
You know, in the past, the best designers and the very well-known designers of the past, industrial designers, they studied engineering and design. So if you could understand engineering quite well and you could understand the process of making things, yeah, then you are a much better designer because you can adjust your ideas to this kind of processing. Okay, now we are riding in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So the mechanical age is over almost. So if you ask me now, I would say computer science, programming. So if I talked about this with this software which can create a product or which can solve problems. If designers are engaged in this kind of development of softwares, then the software also can get the parameter, make it more accessible, make it more beautiful. So I think if you are in this area, if you understand computing, if you understand how to write a software, then you are on the right way, and then you can combine, and I think this is the future. You know, computer sciences, artificial intelligence. If you understand artificial intelligence, you can be a much better designer because you integrate this. If we are talking about the Internet of Things, it's an internet with deals with artificial intelligence. And those designers who understand this better will, for sure, will make a much better job. And those designers who still think that they are kind of artists will be out. Because even, and I'll just give you an example, there is a German furniture designer, Stefan Dietz, and he did a chair. It's called chassis chair, because it's developed out of the idea of making a chassis for cars out of aluminium. And it took him almost 5 years to make this chair. And when we hosted this company from United States with the software, and I talked about this process, because why did it take 5 years? Because he had always to do it a trial and error. You know, he makes this material, then he makes the mold, he makes the model, then he tries, and then you sit down, you break, okay, next time, you have to restart. This is the way it worked in the past, you know? Nowadays, you give in the parameters, 10 minutes later, you have the right share. I talked to him, I think last week. I said, Stefan, it's much easier to do it like this. And he was so sad. He said, can you imagine what kind of work it was for me to make this chair? Yeah, I said, yes, I can, but the computer makes it in 10 minutes. Yeah, so that's why you should try to study this kind of new technology, because design does not stand alone. Design is always driven by new technology, new materials. The better you understand new technology, new materials, the better design you will make. This is a very simple story. Okay?
Can I also add a question to my question?
Yeah.
What do you think, does a designer need to know about marketing and business strategy and all this?
Yes, it depends on, I mean, I would say the best marketing in design is made by Philipp Stark. He's a hero. He's gorgeous doing marketing for everything, but it is not necessary to understand that, because you have in company, especially if you work in companies, you have the experts for that as well. You should understand a little bit. Of course, you should understand that every product has a price, and that you cannot go like an artist, priceless in the quality. So, of course, you should understand the framework that is created by marketing and sales. This is important, but no more, because you do not want to work as a salesperson or as a marketing person. You are a designer. Yeah? So it is enough to understand this background. But what I mentioned before, to understand the technology side, very deep, this is important. This is more important because you are creating products. And the salesperson has to distribute. You are not a distributor. You make a good product. This makes the difference, yeah?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's feel free. Any other questions?
Hello. Thank you very much for your talk. It was very interesting. I have a direct question to what you just explained about recommending to study computer science for designers. I also agree that the general trend with technology right now is that more and more these kind of technological influences, they shape also they hit the consumer market, they shape products that we use daily in everyday life, and also our general behavior. So my point is that you mentioned IoT, AI, or all these technologies, they are computer related. They are basically changing physical products into information or data or something that becomes more and more intangible. There's a trend from hardware to software. Hardware behaves like software or completely disappears. And I think this stands in very strong contrast to what you promoted earlier of this eroticism or sensuality. I think that is basically all gone with this kind of process. So how would you try to mediate between these extremes, where we are going and where we should be as a designer?
Yes, thank you very much for this question. You are right. You're right, because sitting here and talking from the present, of course, I talk something like that sounds. If we look to the future, it sounds very, not on time anymore. So if I'm talking about branding in products, of course, this is old economy. The new world will have totally new paradigms and new parameters. I created a new term for the human being. We are actually still live in a world where the human being is called Homo faber. The Homo faber is a kind of an engineer, is a human being that creates his own environment, that creates his own tools, knowledge and everything. This is Homo faber. But you mentioned in the future we have significant changes from hardware to software. Even hardware is disappearing. And one of the key terms is big data. So that's why, and I said, we always do products from human beings for human beings. So we have always, if you design something, you have always a human being in your mind. Who is the user? And the user is not, and normally is not an animal, is a human being. So you have a typical shape of it in your mind. And until today, you have the shape of a Homo faber, of a man who is able to use technological things, who is able to create his environment, and so on and so on. So he is an educated person. The human being of the future, I call, will be the Homo ex data. The human being which is created out of data. You know why? In the past, designing means observation. You have to observe the people's behavior to create the usability of a product. So you look how people behave in certain situations, as you did with our earphone, yeah? And then out of this you try to create something. Nowadays, no observation is necessary anymore, because you have to click, can I send the problems with your computer to the company? So what the company receives, or what all the designers receive, is big data. So they don't care about your personal understanding of behavior. They receive big data and they create a product which is following the results of the analysis of big data. And for sure, this will change all of our behaviors. So we will become more independent human beings in the future. The world is not any longer so easy to understand around us as it is today, as Homo fabers. So the Homo ex data is a human being which is more relating on all the technology around him, but he does not understand it anymore because it comes just out of this machine analytic data exploration. And this will be there. And what I'm now saying is, I don't mean it in an ideological way. I don't want to point on that. This is just development. It has nothing to do with morale, with a new ethic. People, the Homo faber, did what he could do in technology. And he now comes to the end of his own existence because he did what he need to do. So now the new human being, the Homo ex data, will be a person which is very strongly connected to machines. Yeah? We are more connected to machines. And to be honest, I cannot say, is it better or is it less good? But as long as we will survive and as long as we will have sex, everything is okay. Yeah? Okay.
All right, thank you very much. I also really want to talk in a really enthusiastic atmosphere, but unfortunately, we are out of our planned time. So how about this? I want to appreciate all of our audiences here, and please give a big hand to our speaker today, Peter Jack. Please, guys. Thank you very much. All right, today's talk is over. Thank you very much for coming. And when you're leaving, these beverages out there, please enjoy yourself, have yourself. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.